Hello everyone. I would like to demonstrate my teaching again with the clip of chapter 4 written discourse. This clip is just part 1 that you will see the coming clip related to chapter 4 again. To begin my demonstration in this clip, I would like you to take a look at this example of text and then tell me in your mind what you found so far by judging whether this text is good enough or not. Now, take a look at the full text with me. Bangkok, the capital city of Thailand, which I lived since I was born. When I was young, it was surrounded by many skyscrapers. A few years later, it became more modern and convenient when the SkyTrain was built. Nowadays, I still live in this city and look how it is changed. Everyone wants to live here. Some need a job, but some just need to travel. Few people care of the city. There are many problems in Bangkok, such as the garbages, many people who are unemployed, the children who don't get education, even animals are left. Even if Bangkok is more modern and more convenient, but this thing can't stand forever. So we have to protect or improve it. I used to sing to stop any building which are planning to construct. Do you mention it? They are covering the city instead of the tree. I want to plant tree and tell everyone to do so. Taking the public transportation to go for study in addition to decrease the pollution and traffic jam. Using the recycle bag to decrease the garbages in the city, all of the car need to use the natural gas to protect the nature. I believe that if all I said existed, not only Bangkok will be a nice city, but also the country or maybe the whole world will be nice to live in. Now, I give you some seconds in order to take into your consideration whether this text is good enough or not, or in case it has any problem, you can jot down in your notebook, everyone. Alright, so now go ahead with me with the next slide in order to discuss the provided text at the moment. The text in the previous slide, it discusses Bangkok city, right? Actually, this text contains some weaknesses that it causes the trouble with it coherent. That's why it become incoherent. Why? For example, there is not a clear topic sentence. Moreover, there are no any transition signal, okay, that the writer has employed in order to mention the point. One more thing, there are some grammatical mistakes found in the text as well. With these disadvantages or error, we can constitute this text as incoherent. I hope that what I have just mentioned can be the same to what you found, everyone. The next section is about what is a text. The text can be supposedly defined as authentic products of social interaction. According to Halliday and Hassan in 1976, in the first page, the text refers to any passage, spoken or written, of whatever length that does form a unified whole. In order to have a unified whole for a text, the text itself must have texture. What does it mean, texture? Texture can be a required property which distinguishes text from non-text, and that whole clauses of a text together in order to give them unity. So it means that when we have a component of texture, it can be called a text, and the text itself, okay, need to have the unity that can be link or connect from one sentence to another sentence, from one clause to another clause. Because of the importance of texture, so now let me show you the component of texture. The first, it is called coherent. Coherent is not the new term for this clip introduction to you, but you may have been familiar with it many times, especially in the coursework of writing skill. For example, in order to write a good paragraph or a good essay, your written work must contain with the quality of coherent. What does it mean for coherent? Coherent when we think in terms of the quality of meaning unity as well as the purpose of your text, everyone. In case your text is coherent, it means that your text can be made sense. And for coherent, it does not relate to linguistic form like vocabulary, like grammar, etc. in the text. In addition, it could be relative to a particular receiver and the context as well of your written text. How about cohesion? Cohesion, we think about what binds text together to form a unified whole. Actually, elements are connected each other, and the linguistic marking of the link between a sequence of sentences or clauses that make them hang together seem a big necessity. Cohesion, it especially refer to the use of the grammatical aspect. For example, like we think in terms of the use of references, we use the word in order to link, or we call linker, or we think about the consistency in terms of the word or phrases level that we call parallelism, etc. And we think of in terms of the lexical item, like we consider whether you have many times of the repetition of the word used and the use of general word, etc. that we use in order to reach achievement for the connection of the text from one to one. So to sum up from what I have just mentioned in terms of coherent, okay, and cohesion, we can see that linguistic form, okay, and the unity of the text are very important. Now we move to another section about the text as a semantic unit. It doesn't mean that all uses of language can be regarded as text, everyone. Take a look at this example, U, P, X, G, W, E, L, I, etc. One of my questions for the introduction of this section is that, can I regard it or treat it as a text? U, P, X, G, W, E, L, I, etc. Yes, frankly speaking, and actually, it is not a text. Why? Because the sound and letter do not in sequence, which combine in order to make up word of English language. It is no more than a sequencing phoneme. Phoneme can be the smallest unit of the language, right? That can be the lowest level of sound unit of a language system as well, so-called. That these can function as unit of meaning, or we call the word. However, letter that we arrange to constitute word are not sufficient or are not enough in order to make up the text either. Now take a look at this example provision. Cat the feet mother. Is it a text? No, not really, because of the arrangement of the letter that to constitute word. They are not enough to be acceptable. Despite the 5 different words here with the meaning, it is not considered a text simply because they don't hang together grammatically. There must be a sequence arrangement of constituent of word and structure in order to make it a text in full. According to lexical-grammatical structure, in which there large clause, as known as clause, complex or sentence, it can be phrases or group of words. It can be like morpheme, everyone. The sequence arrangement and combination should give us whether they are accepted or it can be usual clauses. Now, let me introduce another section in terms of grammar and the meaning of text. I would like you to refer to your textbook on page 77 and read the text, the BFG, and tell me, is it a good text and why? This is the excerpt from the BFG, or you can refer it in your textbook, everyone. Take a look at the first section. The BFG was still holding the awesome cucumber in his right hand, and now he put one end into his mouth and bit off a juice hung of it. He started crunching it up, and the noise he made was like the crunching of lumps of ice. I have no need to further my reading, so you can read more by yourself, just the first section as example. Now go back to our discussion with the text, the BFG. Based on what we have read so far from the text, the BFG, we got a problem with many unusual vocabulary, okay? But the question is that, does the text could be made sense or not? Actually, the text makes sense or can be understood because it conforms to possible phonological combination of English language. Furthermore, it is incorporated into the grammar of English with the attachment of conventional English morphemes of tense and word class. For example, when we use like ing, okay, some, is, and at with that attachment with the word, everyone, with this type of morpheme. Yes, so it's quite long, right, for this type, the BFG. In text, the BFG, it expresses unified whole in terms of the meaning, not in terms of its form, everyone. The text is the unit of meaning with the 3 dimensions. The first one we call additional meaning, second one interpersonal meaning, and the third one textual meaning. For additional meaning, it's concerned with how one experience of language and other semiotic systems that are interpreted as meaning. So this it based on the use of the language in terms of experience, okay, of the language user, and the application of the semiotic system as well. Semiotic system can be the communication that we can apply through the use of signs as an image, okay, in order to understand or interpret the meaning. Second aspect, interpersonal meaning, it is concerned with exchanging language in the community of the language user. And the third one, it's called textual meaning. So the meaning making the text a unified whole. So from the 3 dimensions here, the BFG, okay, it can express a unified whole, or it is a unit of meaning that through additional through interpersonal and through the textual meaning. Now we have another text sample. This is just an excerpt from Stalin Genius by Bruce Andrew. Now we will go back to read it again, everyone. Okay, I think we can read first, right? Stalin Genius consisted of not friend kissing. Sometimes I want to be in crowd, your spat of visibility. Crow flocked, generally organized, but what can true work? Birth is school and scapular, lose that disembowelment, you must change it by eating it yourself. Don't pick your noses. Secrecy, strive on abuse. No, I don't mean the muscle crisis. Cat goes backward. To shoot international organizations, middle class families, when the belly choose to obey authority, whether into arson, anything can be converted. The accessories get you wet. What can you imagine from this, everyone? All right. It's a very high challenging touch, everyone, in order to hunt the meaning or to mention the touch about the Stalin at the moment. Okay. Stalin's genius given by Bruce Andrew. A piece of language that is more challenging for our pursuit of meaning, like the one above, okay, we can see that the sequence of clauses, they don't hang together. In other words, it lacks coherent, the contextual properties, and it has concern with the lack of cohesion that we call the linguistic form or internal property. In the text Stalin Genius, two types of coherent are missing, like registral coherent and generic coherent. So now let's go to explore more further about what is the registral coherent and what is generic coherent. All right, go alongside with me with coherent or registral coherent. First, we can think of any situation in which all the sentences could occur, everyone. Second one, from the text, okay, is more than one topic is talked about. For this aspect or concern, we call fear, okay. So we take a look at whether the text is just discussed within one topic or not. The third one, some clauses use written language, while the other they use the conversational dialogue style from the Stalin text at the moment. That we call the concern of mode, everyone. Mode in written discourse, it refers to how language is being used in exchange in terms of whether written or spoken. But the writer they try to use in the blended way or mix, right, in academic written language and conversational dialogues statement that is not particularly man focused. Third one, it is the concern in terms of tenor. So we cannot think of the role of the writer or the sayer of the paragraph, everyone. Actually, from the aspect of tenor, it defines of the role of participant in the language event or the relationship, okay, of the participant in the text. But we cannot identify contextually or specifically about the role of the writer and the sayer from the given text of Stalin Genius as well. How about the generic coherent? Finally, we cannot identify the unified purpose of the text as well, the Stalin Genius. The absence of the semantic tie, okay, between pronoun it and it referent prevents sentences from hanging together. That is related to the concern of cohesion as well from the Stalin genius, everyone. So like the use of it here, okay. Actually, we cannot refer or understand that like the pronoun it here, okay. It it refer to what that it can be the big difficulty for mentioning, okay, making sense, okay, this touch, and we do not allow the touch in order to hang together as well. Cohesive resources. For this section, we will discuss in terms of the internal property of the text that make clauses hang together. So these are referent, conjunction, and lexical cohesion. Let's begin with me with referent. Referent refer to how writer or speaker introduces people, things, and places, and then keep track of them once they are in the text. Only presuming references create cohesion in a text. For example, like the definite article the, we use demonstrative pronoun like these, that, those, these, and pronoun like he, she, it, they, etc. We have different type of presuming references, everyone. For example, like homophoric referent. Homophoric referent can be retrieval of referent from the general context of culture. So this is the specific context of the culture in general, in other words. For example, it is unbelievable how hot the sun is. Actually, from this, the sun can be an example of homophoric reference that we all know which sun that we are talking about. It can be the specific sun of our solar system that is in one of the general context of the culture. So when you refer to another example for the context of the culture, specifically and only in UK, so you say, or when you write the queen, contextually mentioned, when you discuss about the queen or you display the word queen in the UK, we refer to the queen of the UK only, not the queen of any other country beside UK, because this is the context culture in the UK only. Next is exophoric referent. Exophoric referent can be referent to something in the text, context, or situation. For example, put this down next to her, please. In case you are in the same place and in the same time, you are able to decode the it and the her. Here, it and her. So it here refer to what, and her here refer to what. That can be exophoric reference. You can mention or you can understand unless you are in the context or in the situation of the text that you can infer. That is called exophoric one. Next is endophoric reference. Mostly it happens in contextual manner, in a textual manner. Endophoric reference can be the identity of a presuming item that can be retrieved from elsewhere within the text itself, everyone. It can be at the front, it can be at the end. For example, the identity of the participant has been given at an earlier point in the text. For example, she was called Mary by her parent. The identity of the female participant identified as she has been revealed somewhere before in the text. Okay, so here when you use pronoun she here, it means that we can you will find that C here refer to the name of anyone in the previous sentences, okay? Because this sentence just extracted or just a short excerpt, for example. So for example, C here refer to Nari, refer to Bopa or R that mentioned in the previous sentence already. So for the coming sentence, you want to rest about Bopa again, for example, so you use pronoun C. That's why this is the identity of one of the female name participant that mentioned previously or can be mentioned later on in the coming text. For endophoric reference, we have its subkind like anaphoric reference. Anaphoric reference can be the reference to something previously indicated. Okay, for example, let me tell you about physics. The lit boring lie. So they here refer to physics, everyone. Okay, so they can be a reference to physics that indicated previously in the first sentence. Another one is cataphoric reference. Cataphoric reference can be a reference to something subsequently indicated. All right. For example, you say the news came as a terrible shock to them all, but most of all to Mrs. Mallet. It seemed her husband Brandy had been killed in a railroad disaster. His friend Richard carried the sad tidings to Mrs. Mallet and her sister husband. So from this, we begin with the presuming references to the new and them all. But it is only in the second sentence that we learn what that new was, and only in the third that we can establish the exact reference for them all. So for them all, we refer to Mrs. Mallet, Richard, and husband. So the reference, the new and them all, it indicate earliest, right? Or they are indicated before showing detail. Like the new here, it happened in the first sentence, but the second sentence, you can learn that the new was about what? Okay, it talk about a tragedy. Okay, when for example, Brandley, okay, had been killed in the railroad, or it is the accident, okay, disaster. And another reference, category reference, is them or. First, we use them or, but we do not know them here refer to who. While in the subsequent sentence, the second and third sentence, you learn that them or refer to what else? Malad, Richard, and husband. So cataphoric reference is different or opposed to anaphoric. Just one indicates previously, and another one subsequently indication. Next is asphoric reference. Asphoric reference, it happens when the reference occur in the phrase immediately follow the presuming reference item. For example, when the flood of the tears subsided, Mr. A fell asleep. So from this sentence, the underlined the flood, okay, can be a reference item, okay, and the tear here is referent. All right, so the flood of the tear, it can be in the same phrase, everyone, that follow the reference item that we presume. Another one, the size of the class is big. All right, so here the size is reference item that we can see that the reference item in terms of the class that is called referent. All right, so they are in the same phrase, okay, but can be another example of asphoric referent, okay, that it's still that it show the position that close to each other, okay. We have other type of references, everyone, like comparative reference. So this is the use of comparative adjective superlative and other words that compare. For example, like Sam, likewise, or other in order to promote cohesion. For example, she did not hear the story as many women have heard the same. So here we use the same, everyone, to be with the comparative reference to the story. Whole text reference. It can be the reference that is more than the simple participant, but can be action or event. That's why, like this example, Luna passed her exam, which make her parent proud. So we use which here as the reference in order to refer to the previous sentence in a whole. So which here we talk about Luna passed exam, that because of this it make her parent proud. Next is called bridging reference. Bridging reference, it happens when the presuming reference item refer back to an early item from which it can be inferentially derived. For example, looking out of the window, Sokha feel nostalgic about country life. So here we have no any mentioning in terms of the word the window, but we have no trouble for bridging from the earlier reference to her room to work out in country that the window refer to the window of her. Okay, so this one is the special reference that it can let us to refer back to any early item, okay, that it can derive, okay, inferentially. So no more content from this. Thank you very much for your attentive listening, everyone, and see you again with the coming video clip. We'll discuss chapter 4 again. Good luck and see you soon, everyone.